Frank, Friday night we start off a fantastic season of boxing on Box Nation and BT. Michael Conlan's professional debut at the Theatre, Madison Square Garden, against Tim Ibarra.
It's Paddy's night. It's going to be a good night, isn't it? I should think it'll be electric out there. And you know, one thing about him, he's like his brother. They can fight. They're crowd pleasing, and I think it's going to be a great start to which I believe and hope will be a fantastic career.
You mentioned his brother Jamie. There can't be too many more of them wars unless it's at world level.
I mean,
is
you know,
we had last week.
No, he doesn't. He needs now to fight for the title, and we're doing our best to get him into that, or certainly, you know, the final eliminator. But that's where he needs to be.
Michael's gone to Top Rank with Bob Arum, who's been a friend of yours for many years. Were you disappointed at not signing him at all?
Well, I thought we was going to do a deal with him, but he's made his choice. He's gone and based himself in the States, and that's his choice. You know, and I wish him all the best for it.
Yeah. The next night, Gennady Golovkin, Triple G against Daniel Jacobs with a stack of middleweight belts on the line. How do you see that fight going?
Well, I hope it's not going to be a banana skin for Golovkin. I fancy Golovkin. You know, Jacobs, he's not a bad puncher. I'm not too sure about his chin. And the good thing, you know, the thing about Golovkin, he can box and he can punch. And I would think that he would come through that and win that fight.
How good do you think Golovkin is?
I think he's an extremely good fighter. You know, he can box, as I just said, and he can punch. Time is one of those things that beats fighters. You know, the fight he had against Kell Brook, you know, there looked like there was a few problems earlier on, but going into that fight, there was a lot of talk that he wasn't at his best, he wasn't 100%, but he did what he had to do at the end of the day. And I think he's one of those fighters, he'll take a few shots to get you. You know, and when he boxes you, it's because he'll wear you down. But if he thinks that he can take your best, he'll take that shot. He'll take 2 or 3 of them to land his one.
We saw that against another one of his fights on Box Nation, Willie Monroe, where he wasn't doing anything and then found him.
Just walked through him, didn't he? You know, took it. He's got a good chin, there's no doubt about that. But his fight, you know, hopefully after this fight, if we can, we're trying very hard to get the winner of that fight in with Billy Joe Saunders. And if it's Golovkin, I'd love to make that fight. And Bill would like it. He's driven me crazy for it. And if we can get that over the line, that'd be fantastic. And it'd be a different, you know, it's a totally different fight as well for Golovkin. You know, he'd be fighting a middleweight. People compare, you know, the fight with Kell Brook. Kell Brook's not a fully fledged middleweight, and Billy Joe's a big middleweight. And Billy Joe's got a good chin. He's not been I don't think he's been on the floor as a pro, has he? And he's got a great pedigree. He's done it the hard way, and you know he presents other problems to Golovkin. And I think, you know, obviously Golovkin, people will make him a favourite going into the fight, maybe a big favourite, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, he won't be, you know, for the want of trying with Bill. You know, Bill's not a rollover job. He comes to fight.
There's been a lot of speculation about him fighting Bill in June, possibly in Kazakhstan. Where is it at the moment?
Well, there's nothing at the moment. We've got to wait till this fight's done on Saturday and then let the dust settle and go from there.
So you decided not to go over yourself and Bill this week?
No, we were going out there, and there's been bad weather, and as you all know, in New York and so forth, and we've got a few things on this, so we've left that, and we can, you know, a few phone calls to go on sort of after the fight, and we'll see where we go with it.
And of course, you must be very excited. 8th of April, first show with BT and Box Nation. You go to Manchester Arena, where there's a junior middleweight fight that everyone's talking about. It's must watch. The 2 Liams, Smith and Williams.
I mean, you know, as we say, it's a great trade fight. Everybody in the business, in the boxing business, wants to watch it. And I'm just hoping there's going to be a crossover that the general public tune into it, because it is a great fight. You know, it is a great fight. You know, they're 2 extremely good fighters, great pedigrees to both of them, and I think it has all the ingredients of being a classic. It's one of those fights where no one's going to give any ground. That's going to be, as soon as that bell goes, they're going to get down on it, and you're going to see a fight. Was
it hard getting them to fight each other at all in your role as a promoter?
Well, no, I mean, you know, what we're trying to do is make natural fights, and even whoever the loser is, it's not the end of the world for the loser. You know, there's this fallacy that somebody gets beat and that's the end of their career. It isn't. Winners and losers, it happens all the time, and guys come again. You know, Billy Joe Saunders beat Eubanks. Eubanks has come not the great opposition, but he's got himself back in the limelight. And it's the same with the 2 Liams. There'll be a loser, but that's not, you know, for us, we will be with them winner and loser, we're behind them 100%, trying to do the best we can for them. And if it's a great fight, who knows? It might be a rematch.
I mean, because they are world class, aren't they? Because Williams is improving all the time.
He is.
Liam showed against Canelo that he belongs with the best.
Yeah, and no excuses, because it's the last thing that Liam Smith. He's not that type of guy. He's a true warrior, and he went into that fight hampered by, as we all know, he had a cut. Wasn't he worried about the cut? Well, I suppose was worried about the cut, but more importantly, he weren't sparring. And I'm not saying that would have, would have made a difference to the result, but it may have made a difference in as much that, if he'd have had his timing a bit more right and so forth, who knows? Because there was moments in that fight where he was holding more than holding his own. But
when if you pull out, you'll lose that fight possibly forever.
Well, that's true, and that's what fighters do. You see it with David Haye. He wasn't 100%, was he, going into that fight? He went in there with a dodgy leg. I mean, it's well recorded that he went over to Germany for the fight with, before the fight with Bellew, and went into there, but went ahead and done it. And it's obviously a big pay-per-view fight and a big payday. So who knows where that's going to go? But these two Liams they're young. They're not old guys. They're not they're not in their 30s. They're young fighters and just getting to their prime. So you're going to get something a little bit special, I think.
And Terry Flanagan, he might be looking one eye on Pollard and eye. That's a tough fight.
He don't want an eye. He needs two eyes on Petrov. He don't need to be looking anywhere else, because he's got his hands full. It's not a fight I want. I'm telling you now, I did not want this fight. I told his manager, I told his trainer, I don't particularly want to be doing this. I'd much be making something else, and they insisted on it. So I know he's got a tough fight.
What made you not want this fight?
Well, they wanted it.
No, for yourself as a...
Because I think Petrov is a tough fighter. I think he's one of those really hard fighters to beat, and I think he is tough. And I'm not saying Terry's not tough, and I believe in Terry. I mean, I've believed in Terry from the beginning when people, who is he? I like Terry Flanagan, and I know that Terry rises to the occasion. The tougher the opposition, you get the best out of him. But for me, it wasn't. I'd have preferred to go in a different direction. But we are where we are. And I know that Terry I'm quite sure Terry will come out as a winner, but I know that he's been in a fight.
And a couple of weeks later, new arena in Leicester, Tommy Langford, interim WBO middleweight title against Kurt Sidzi.
All these fights we're talking about are all pick 'em fights, aren't they? When you think about it, I mean, for the viewers, it's fantastic. There's no, 7-1 on jobs here. These are all, as you say, pick 'em. They're all close fights. And again, it's a tough fight. Tommy Langford stepping up to the plate against a fighter who was Billy Joe Saunders mandatory, but we managed to get him to come and fight Tommy instead. It's for the interim title. So the winner of this, which fingers crossed will be Tommy, is in a great position, a fantastic position to fight for the WBO title.
There's a lot of accusations that unbeaten fighters with 18, 19 fights don't want to fight anyone. Tommy Langford showing he is willing to step up.
Listen, Tommy Langford signed a contract to fight Chris Eubanks Jr. Signed it. And Chris Eubanks Jr. signed a contract to fight Tommy Langford. But one guy is honourable and the other guy is dishonourable. And that's we've sued him over it, so he's got a big problem over that, Eubanks. But Eubanks did not want to fight Tommy Langford. He went and fought somebody who he thought which was a knockover for him. He didn't want to fight Tommy Langford. Tommy Langford's got balls. He's fighting a tough opponent. He's fighting an opponent that Eubanks wouldn't fight.
And we come to Leeds on the 13th of May. Josh Warrington against Kiko Martinez. Josh a big favourite, but Kiko gives everyone a fight, doesn't he?
Gives everyone, and on his night, it's a tough fight. Josh has been out for quite a while now, and he's had an operation, so he's got to ease his way back into it. But this will be a tough fight for him again. It's not an easy job, but it'll be a fantastic atmosphere there. And I'm really looking forward to promoting in Leeds. And obviously we failed to mention some great debuts coming up on it in Manchester. We've got Nicola Adams.
She's on in Leeds as well.
Yeah, she's making her debut in Manchester, which is going to be fantastic. And then she's in Leeds on that undercard with Josh. So for Leeds, it doesn't get any better than that. It's the homecoming for her. So they've got their double Olympic gold medalists and Josh Warrington. How good is that?
And with all these great 50-50 fights you're making at the moment, there's a little one on the undercard, Josh Lever and Phil Sutcliffe.
What a good fight that is, isn't it? I'm really looking forward to that. And I like Josh Lever. I liked him since I see him in, I think it was the Haringey Cup, was it, or the ABA?
Like 2012 ABA finals that you had on Box Nation.
Yeah. And I looked at him, and for me, he was the pick. And, you know, it's been a little bit of a tough ride and journey getting him to where he is, but he's more than capable. And I really do think that hopefully he'll come through that fight, and I think we'll be seeing him in some significant fights.
And first BT Box Nation show in London on the 20th of May. Gervonta Davis against Liam Walsh. We saw that press conference a week or so ago when Floyd held court in London.
Well, it was lovely. I mean, it's good to have him there. And what's good for Liam and Davis out of this is that Floyd brings obviously a big media attention. So everybody are going to know about this fight. And Liam, who I believe is going to come through this fight, they're going to know about him because he's going to beat Floyd Mayweather's man.
Why have you always been sold on Liam Walsh for a lot of years? I'm going back to 2012. You were looking to put him in with Ricky Burns when he was world champion.
Well, he had a car accident, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I fancied him to win that fight, and I think he would have won it. He's a very smart fighter. I mean, he did his debut on Box Nation, him and Appleby, which was like for me still one of the best fights we've ever had on the channel. First fight, wasn't it? First title fight. But I think for Liam, I think he's such a smart fighter. He can get in the trenches, he'll trade with you, but he's got a great boxing brain. And I think his last performance was superb. You know, his last win, he really did well. He fought a decent fighter and beat him in style. And I think he'd probably be a world champion now if it weren't for all the injuries he had. He had the car accident, which put him out for a while. He's had hand problems. He's had, you know, quite a few injuries. So hopefully now he's got a clean bill of health, and he's in again for a really tough fight. He'll be the underdog, but you know what? You relish it. And I've done my bit by getting him to fight over here.
That's what you can do. It's down to the fight.
And I'm pleased that we've got it for him because I think it's going to be a fantastic night.
Before we let you go, Frank, we've got to mention the Furies, the Fighting Furies, Tyson and Hughie. Let's start with Hughie against Joseph Parker.
Well, we got him into the position so that he became the mandatory for Parker. We narrowly lost the purse bid by a couple of $100,000, and so the fight's going on in New Zealand. But I think Hughie he's a really good heavyweight. You think he's won all his fights with a debilitating health issue, which was that real bad acne that he had, which was actually getting to blood poisoning in his body, and he was down all the time. We got him to see a specialist in Harley Street, and that's all cleared up now. So I think you're going to see a guy who's going to come up another level. He's done all what he's done, winning the World Amateur Championships?
The
World Junior Amateur Championships. He did that, and you think of all the, you know, the Eastern Europeans and whatever in that, the Cubans. He won that. He came away with a prize with that one, and he's won all his pro fights. So add to that, he's been trained by his father, who I think is one of the best trainers out there. Certainly heavyweights. He's great with the heavyweights, Peter Fury, and he lives the life. He's absolutely spot on with everything he does. He's had fantastic sparring throughout his whole career, working with Tyson, working with the good sparring partners they brought in for Tyson's world title fights and other big fights he's involved with. So I'm expecting. I would be very. I really think he's going to win the fight. You know, and if he doesn't, it's going to be a close call. I really do think it's going to be a good fight.
And finally, Tyson, when can we expect to see him back in the ring? He's got a couple hurdles to overcome, but he's back in the gym.
Well, he's in the gym, which is good news. He's got this hearing, I think it's on May the 8th, and that will determine what his future will be. And hopefully, they'll see that the problems that he's had, and fingers crossed, he'll get his licence back. And that'd be great for him to get his licence back. It'd give him some purpose, some focus. And for me, he's the best heavyweight, bar none, out of all of them. You know, when you look at how he's handled, everybody's fought how he's handled them. He's head and shoulders above them all.
If he does get his licence back, do you think we'll see him June or July, or will he be in the new boxing season?
Listen, if he gets his licence back, he can be out at the end of June, early July. No problem with that. No problem with that.